You know that mattress you sleep on, the one that feels like it was designed just for you? Well, what if I told you its real story has nothing to do with sleep at all? It was actually born from the race to the moon, designed to solve a problem that was literally the difference between life and death for an astronaut. It sounds like a riddle, doesn't it? I mean, one is for the most peaceful moments of your day, and the other is for some of the most violent imaginable. Well, the connection is a single, totally revolutionary material. And here's the kicker. It wasn't invented for comfort. It was invented for impact. So yeah, the whole story kicks off right here, in the middle of this fierce technological showdown we called the space race. Forget about getting a better night's sleep. The original goal was way more fundamental, just surviving the absolutely brutal physics of leaving our planet and coming back. This foam was engineered at NASA's Ames Research Center for one critical purpose, and one purpose only: to absorb the crushing G-forces during launch and re-entry. So you gotta think of it less like a pillow and more like a personal shield. I mean, think about it for a second. Re-entering Earth's atmosphere is basically a controlled crash. You've got astronauts getting slammed with these insane gravitational forces, G-forces, that could literally cause them to black out or get seriously injured. NASA desperately needed a brand new way to protect them. So here's how it all went down. The journey starts back in 1962, when NASA hired a team to come up with safer aircraft seats. Just 4 years later, in '66, an inventor named Charles Yost nails it. He calls it slow spring-back foam. But for years, this tech stayed locked up inside NASA. It wasn't until the early '80s that the formula was released to the public, and that's when its commercial potential finally got unlocked, leading right up to 1991 with the launch of the first Tempur-Pedic mattress. And listen, the stakes could not have been higher. We're not talking about just being a little uncomfortable here. The research was clear. These forces were a direct threat to the astronauts' lives. Finding a solution was completely non-negotiable if human space travel was going to have any kind of future. And this foam was the answer. Its unique trick was that it could compress slowly and mold itself perfectly to an astronaut's body. That way, it could spread out all those violent G-forces evenly instead of letting them build up on dangerous pressure points. It was a game changer. Okay, let's get into this, because the science behind that memory effect is actually pretty wild. It all comes down to this one really powerful property with a mouthful of a name: viscoelasticity. So, what on earth is viscoelasticity? Well, the simplest way to think about it is that the material acts both viscous, thick and slow-moving like honey, and elastic, meaning it can stretch and snap back to its shape just like a rubber band. It's that wild combination that creates the magic. Okay, this right here is the secret sauce. The elastic part, that's your rubber band. It guarantees the foam will always return to its original shape. But the viscous part, that honey-like quality, is what changes everything. It's what slows that return way, way down. It's not an instant snapback, it's the slow, gradual recovery. That slow return, that is the memory in memory foam. So let's break it down. First, your own body heat and pressure make the foam soften up. Then it molds perfectly to your unique shape, spreading your weight out evenly. When you get up, it does that slow recovery thing, which creates that signature memory effect. And, most importantly for NASA, it absorbs and spreads out energy, which, it turns out, is perfect for dealing with G-forces and a partner who tosses and turns all night. So, you have this super specialized, high-tech material made for the extremes of space travel. The big question is, how in the world did it make that incredible leap into millions of bedrooms all across the globe? Well, it definitely wasn't an overnight success. After NASA released the formula, the material was still crazy expensive and an absolute nightmare to manufacture consistently. It took a Swedish company nearly a decade of just grinding it out, refining the process, to finally tame the technology for the rest of us, launching Tempur-Pedic and completely changing the sleep industry forever. And this is exactly why it took off. Memory foam just offered these tangible benefits that old-school spring mattresses couldn't touch. We're talking way better pressure relief, proper spinal alignment, and of course, the big one, motion isolation. That meant if your partner was tossing and turning all night, you don't have to feel a thing. For so many people, this was a complete sleep revolution. But of course, the story doesn't just stop with mattresses. This remarkable material's properties have found their way into tons of other products, things we use every single day, probably without even realizing it. I mean, once you start looking, you see this stuff everywhere. It's in hospital beds to stop pressure sores, it's inside football helmets to absorb impact, it's in car seats to make long drives more comfortable, and it's even in high-end headphones to give you that perfect sound-isolating fit. In every single case, its job is the same: to protect and to conform. And the crazy part is, they're still pushing this technology forward. Companies are tackling all the early complaints. Like, remember how memory foam could get kind of hot? Well, now they infuse it with cooling gels. They're developing more sustainable, bio-based foams. And get this, now we're seeing smart beds, mattresses with sensors that actually track your sleep cycles and heart rate, giving you a full health analysis. The journey of this accidental invention is clearly far from over. So the next time you lie down on a memory foam mattress, just take a second to remember its incredible journey. From protecting astronauts against the crushing forces of space travel, all the way to just giving you a comfortable night's rest. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other world-changing technologies born from the most extreme challenges are hiding right under our noses?